So now it's saying the meeting is being live streamed. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'll let everyone know that this meeting is being recorded and it will be live streamed on YouTube. And you can also watch it later when we convert it to a podcast. So my intention on the podcast right now, I have one podcast that is called Enthusiastically Self-Employed. It is designed for individuals who are self-employed, typically solopreneurs, coaches, consultants, speakers, could be business owners as well. And I'm thinking right now of launching 2 additional podcasts because they're really for different audiences. One will be a LinkedIn for job seekers. And I always focus on those that are experience rich job seekers, age 40 plus, 50 plus, et cetera. And then a third podcast may just be more of a general social media marketing, LinkedIn, that could apply to anyone. And I'm considering giving it the same name as my book, Social Media Pie, which was my LinkedIn Live series name last year and for the past few years as well. And it's a lot of general subjects and topics. It's not necessarily for one specific audience. So that's where I envision this podcast will sit. But for today, I am here for you. I've opened my virtual office door, so to speak, and I've targeted this particular meetup the 4th Friday of the month. Can you believe it's the 4th Friday already, by the way? The 4th Friday of the month will be for individuals who work in social media. So you might be a social media manager, a social media specialist. You might work for a social media agency, or you work somehow in the field of marketing. Maybe you work in a marketing role for your company, or maybe none of the above, but social media and marketing are something that you have to do for yourself. And you want to surround yourself by other people who work in the field. And I've always believed if you want to get really good at something, you surround yourself with other people who are doing really good at that same topic. And we start to compare notes and we share things with each other. So that's my hope for today. We'll keep this in the lanes of social media and marketing. I told the job seekers, because I used to do this a weekly call for job seekers every Friday. I said, if you come out to the social media managers and marketers call and you have a job search related question, I'll say, we're going to cover that on the 1st Friday of the month. So come back then, because I really want to keep this focused here. My other topics are the 2nd Friday of the month is LinkedIn for coaches and consultants for the solopreneurs. The 3rd Friday of the month is company pages. I'm just running through my mind right now as I'm thinking through. So every week we do a slightly different topic or focus, and they're really all different audiences. But if you are finding that you could fit into any of them, you're certainly welcome to come into all the calls. But I want to make sure that when you come in, you know the focus, if that makes sense. All right. So with that said, I love that it's a smaller group because we can get to know each other a little bit better today and do some networking. What I would like to do to start is invite those of you who are on the call, if you would like to introduce yourself, say 15 to 30 seconds, if you'd like to do an introduction. And what I'd like you to do is click on the reaction button and then click on raise hand. So you get that little orange hand thing. It's over here on mine. You get the little orange hand, and that lets me know that, yes, you want to introduce yourself. And what I would like you to do is you'll unmute yourself, you'll introduce yourself. And then I would also encourage you to drop your introduction into chat, including your LinkedIn URL, so that people can connect with you. So let me give you here's what I'm looking for in your introduction. On this call, I would say your name, because this will go into a podcast and some people aren't going to see your name, right, when you say it. So let's say our name. Tell us the name of your business, and then tell people what you do and what you help people with. So give that elevator pitch, if you will, because maybe there's somebody else on the call who could benefit from working with you, or who might be able to provide referrals over to you for your business. Okay. So to start off, I'm going to give an example, and this would be the introduction I would give of myself. Hi, I'm Brenda Meller. My company is Meller Marketing. I help business professionals, solopreneurs, and job seekers get a bigger slice of the LinkedIn pie. And I'm open to connecting with you. And I will drop my introduction into chat along with my LinkedIn right now. All right. I see that Sue has her hand raised. So Sue, I will ask if you would like to go next.
Sure. I'm Sue Griffey. My company is Sue Mentors, and that's how I'm known in a lot of the virtual spaces. I have a global mentoring practice around the world working with professionals in transition, all levels of professionals. And I'm also the mentor with pom-poms on the podcast. You won't see the pom-poms, but you'll hear them. because I bring them to every meeting and every engagement so we can celebrate all of our wins, big, small, and anything in between. Thank you. And I already introduced myself in chat.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sue. Okay, I'm going to just kind of go in order and I'll call the names I see up on screen as well as if I see anybody else in chat with their video off. If you would like to, you can unmute yourself and do your introduction. And if you want to pass, we'll just move on to the next person. So Dana, would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Dana Surik, and I'm a sales and marketing professional in the beauty industry. And I will put my information in the chat.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dana. All right, Nancy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Nancy Steinberg from New York City. I work in healthcare communications, specializing in PR and media relations, helping biotech, pharma, life science companies, and healthcare companies promote their data, research, drug approvals, and so on. Nice to see everybody. Can I say something as an aside, Brenda?
Please do.
Is there a way for you to retract the invitations? I got stuck coming in because I kept clicking on my calendar, which had the old link. And I thought you were waiting to let me in because it said host will let you in. And then, of course, I do have the add event email, which I finally referenced to get me in properly. And then a few minutes after 10, I received the email telling me that this is about to start. That was at 10:04. Good morning. This social media managers, marketers is about to start.
So I'll ask you a question, just backing up into your calendar invite. Was that the Friday VIP job seeker office hours invite? Okay. So the problem I'm not sure if I don't think I can go into your calendar and delete it. And I don't think even if I updated the add event, I don't know if it does a push notification. Excuse me, I'm getting a frog. I'm going to ask Julia, my intern who's on the call with me, to do a little bit of research on this and see if we delete out the series. I don't think it deletes it out from your calendar. I think it's only if you update to add an event, if you sync it up, unfortunately. But now that you've said that, what I can do, Nancy, is I can send out an email to anyone who's ever registered for the Friday VIP job seeker office hours, remind them once again that it is only on the first Friday. And if they have added it to their calendar, that I don't have the ability to remove it from their calendar, because it's not like a one-to-one meeting invite. Like if I delete it off of mine, it deletes it off of yours. It's hosted on add event, and then it goes onto your calendar at the time that you do the original booking. So there's not a way I can delete it off, but maybe just explaining that process and say, for that reason, if you have the Friday VIP job seeker office hours on your calendar every Friday, delete them out and re-register, and then you'll get the right series in. Do you think that would help you, Nancy?
Yeah, no, and honestly, I'm doing this for you because I figured it out. I'm afraid there may be people that are also floundering and they don't know what happened or where you're at. And I know that sometimes in the VIP LinkedIn group, you will post or your I don't want to mispronounce it. Julia,
and it's Julia. Yep.
We'll post, here's the link. So I was like, wow, oh, right. Okay. Because I was so proud. For the longest time, I didn't have, even though I went in every week, I didn't have the link in on my calendar. So today when I went,
you knew it was the recurring link and you didn't have to go there, right?
Right. But anyway, so now I see, okay, it's not the same. It's not the same. So yeah, it might help some other people that are that wanted to join.
Yeah, that's really, I really do appreciate that feedback, Nancy. And I'm always like, how can I help my attendees, my guests? I want to be a good, gracious host for that. I also want to mention, I have created a private unlisted LinkedIn group. And by the way, if you're listening to this on the podcast, you're not going to get the link because you got to come in to one of the Zoom calls to get the link, but I'm going to drop the link in chat right now. And it is a private unlisted group on LinkedIn. And just for, making sure you're all aware of what that means. Private means if you visit this page, you'll see a button that will say request to join. So that means I screen people in. The only people who will be admitted into this group are people that I've selected in. And sometimes I see others doing this. They might have like a paid membership and only members can come into the group, or it might be for employees only, or, other types of things. Other groups can be wide open and anyone can join, but this one, I want to make sure I'm creating a community of people who've been in these calls. Now, the good thing about this group is once you have been admitted to the group, what will happen is every month, as soon as we start our calls, I'm going to ask Julia, our intern, to go ahead and drop the link inside here. And actually, I'm going to do a quick welcome post. I'll just say, welcome to the group. And I'll say, welcome to the group. Please introduce yourself. And I'm going to keep that as, I think we can do a pinned comment. Let me just show you how to do this. Please introduce yourself. I want to have at least one post inside the group. Yeah, I can pin this post. Good. So if you're not aware, you can do a pin post inside groups, but I want to have at least one post inside the group for people that come into it, because then they know, yes, it's actually being monitored by someone. And then every Friday after we start our calls, Julia is a member of the group and she can go in and she'll put the YouTube link to watch the playback inside there. And also, Julia, if you could put the Zoom link once we've started in there. It's going to be the same Zoom link, so you all know, every fourth Friday of the month. But if you can't find it quickly and you've already been in here, you don't have to go through registration again. You can get in there. Okay. And this group kind of serves as our flagpole, if you will. So think about when you were back in elementary school and they would have like fire drills at school. And then they would say, but you need to do fire drills at home with your family too. And they would give you like a list of things you needed to do. And, think about where the entrances and exits are. And if you're on the second floor, how can you get down? And if you can't go to the front door, how do you get out? And then it was like, do you have a meeting place for your family? Because if it's 3 a.m. and the house is on fire and mom's going out the front door and dad's out the back door and the dog shot out that way and you're the other way, where do you meet up? Because the house is on fire, so you can't meet at the front porch. So they will usually say, like, go to the flagpole at the neighbor's house a few doors down, or figure out, the fire hydrant or someplace, maybe not the fire hydrant, because the fire hydrant's like a few doors down, figure out where you're going to meet. So this group becomes our flagpole. And if you are ever having problems getting into the call, go into the group. I will make sure I'm admitting people as they are requesting to join. It looks like Sue has already requested you to join. And then you can post inside the group and say, hey, I can't find the Zoom link. Can someone send it to me? Alternatively, you can also come to that group in between our meetups. And if you do have questions for fellow group members, what I will say, as long as it fits under the title, the name of the group is VIP Resources for Social Media Managers and Marketers. Okay. Now, I won't allow people just to come in here and pitch and sell their business and things like that. I'm not going to create a group that you don't want to be a part of, because I don't want to be a part of those groups. I don't know about you, like sales pitches all the time. No, nobody's going to be a part of them. But if they are resources that can help people who work in social media or who work in marketing, absolutely feel free to do that. And occasionally you'll see me doing some posts in the group, like this welcome message one, for example. At other times, I might say, let's pitch your business, and then feel free to pitch your business and sell yourself in there. What I found with groups is that they work best when you give and contribute to them. So you're not just coming in and posting about yourself or sharing resources, you're also participating in conversations that are happening. Okay, so I'm going to encourage you guys to use the group. After our monthly calls, we'll also be sending you an email just reminding you about the playback, the next monthly call, and then joining the group as well. So be sure to check that out. All right, with that said, I am calling this VIP office hours. And I think about my days back in corporate when, some of the managers would say, like, on Fridays, my door's open to you. I have open door Fridays, just come in, ask any questions. So if we all worked in the office together, this is like my open door Friday. And imagine that I've got a nice conference table. Me and Sue are sitting around, maybe we're drinking our coffee, and Dana comes by and knocks at the door and says, hey, I have a question. And we're like, come on in, Dana, and we'll sit down and we'll chat a little bit. So I'm going to open the floor up to all of you to see if you have any questions you'd like to share as it relates to LinkedIn, social media, marketing, any of the above. Feel free to ask. And if we run short on questions, I can always pull topics from my back pocket to think about. I've had a few things that have happened to me recently with LinkedIn and events and stuff I can speak to, but I want to make this time relevant for you. All right, Sue, I see that you've raised your hand. So how can we help you?
I'm here not because I'm a marketer or manager, but I am a marketer and social media for my business of one, like many of us, or even for those of us that are in between and doing other stuff. I realized, because I launched, I have course that is available in a self-paced fashion, and I open it up for cohort, meaning you get more direct interaction with me and with others a couple times a year. And it started me thinking, because I also do a twice monthly mentor time. I have monthly office hours. So I'm having multiple offers of stuff that I do.
Mhm.
I have an email list. They get those.
Okay.
And the people, I keep an opt-out link. No one opts out. Everybody wants to be in it. That's fine. Some of them
That's
are
good.
real.
That's good.
I know.
You're keeping a good list, right?
Well,
Yeah.
some of them are really old. Who knows whether they're going into the interweb somewhere. But my question is, I try to distinguish the offers in the email subject line. And one of your people yesterday said this specifically. I'm trying to remember Brenda who in the live-a-thon.
That was the clarity guy.
Yes. Scott
Scott,
Woodruff.
what was his name? Woodruff, Steve
Yeah.
Woodruff? That's
I
not
think
right?
so. Steve
Okay.
Woodruff. Yeah.
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 Okay.
Anyway, I put in like info, reminder, action in capital letters and try to give a description. But I also know that everybody is really busy. So even people, when I say to my course, like it says 3 steps and people still don't do it. And that's just right in a row. I'm trying to figure out, is there a strategy? Is there marketing like checklist, or is there something that I'm missing because I'm not a marketer? How should I think about multiple offers, multiple ways people engage with me so that I can, about once a quarter, I write a long email. Here's everything I do. But other than that, it's all targeted. So is that clear?
I'm going to break it down a little bit because I need to make sure I'm understanding what the question is. So what is your ultimate goal with this question? Is it how to get more people to sign up for your course? How to grow your email list? What's your goal as it relates to this
My goal is
question?
how to make sure that the email strategy that's basically almost everybody's on the same list, on one list, getting everything, how and in what way I can make sure I'm differentiating subject lines and the start of the email. I guess that's it. I just want some advice from you and others who've done marketing or have dealt with this.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I'm going to I'm a consultative marketer. I can't think of the word consultative, I think is. So I'm not just going to answer the question. I'm going to ask you some more questions because I want to really diagnose and figure out what's going on here. So I'm trying to figure out, like, what's the challenge we're trying to solve? Is it how frequently to email people, how to get a better open rate? Like, help me with that. Like, what are you looking to really do with your emails? Did she freeze? I think she might have froze. Okay, I think she froze. So we're going to give her a second to unfreeze, and hopefully she comes back on there.
She did say earlier that
Yep.
she's trying to get people to do things, and she finds when there's multiple steps. There
you're back, Sue. It was frozen for a second, and I wasn't sure if it was just me or everybody. But you're trying to get people to do multiple things with an email.
No,
is that right?
A lot of my offerings are all mentor, mentor, mentor. So there's mentor in the first couple words. I'm just trying to figure out if that's enough. I don't know. I just thought I'd bring it up because I realize it's been at the back of my brain.
That's okay. Do you have a recent email that you've sent out? And I'm not sure if I'm on your email list. If so, I could pull it up and maybe we could look at an email if that would be okay with you.
Sure, I do. You want me to open one?
Yeah. Is this, I want to see it from the recipient's point of view, if that would be possible.
Do you want me to send it to you then?
Yeah.
Okay, hang on. I have to find it and then forward
I'll make you a co-host too, in case we're going to do a screen share on you. And are you using, what system are you using for sending out your emails?
Right now, I just send it through Google because I can do 500 at a time, because I discovered 3 years ago with MailChimp, most people weren't getting it because it ended up in spam filters. So I'm in that transition point of trying to get people over to it.
Okay. So, and I totally get what you're saying. And a lot of people, when they're first starting their businesses off, they will do it from their Gmail instead of doing a paid service. And sometimes, unfortunately, some of the accounts do get locked or are notified as spam, and your emails will go into the spam folder. The challenge when you're sending out from Gmail is you don't have You don't have statistics. You can't see open rate. There's not really a formal process for people to unsubscribe. They can email you back and say, stop sending me emails or unsubscribe. But then I don't know about you, but I always feel a little awkward when I do that, because then I feel like I'm saying I don't like you, Sue. And that's not what it is. It's just I'm getting, like, I had a friend, and she's a LinkedIn trainer coach. I'm not going to name her by name, but she and I support each other. She has an event that's coming up, and it was just in the past few days, I think 6 emails. And I was just like, I just can't anymore. And I want to support her and I'm curious what she's doing. But 6 emails in 2 days was just like way too many. So I just clicked unsubscribe, and I was almost going to email her and say, hey, I didn't want you to feel like offended that I'm unsubscribing. It's just too much. But the form gave me a place to say, why are you unsubscribing? And I said, too many emails. Now, what I've started to do is when I send out an email, and pay attention to the emails you get from me now that I'm telling you this, at the bottom of the email, it will say, do you no longer want to receive communications from me about company pages? You can unsubscribe from this topic. Or like once a week, Julia is now prepping an email that goes out about my podcast. Like, here's the latest podcast. Here's the shows. If you're not a podcast listener, you don't care about that. At the bottom of the email, no longer want to receive podcast emails, click here. And you unsubscribe from the podcast emails, but you stay on my full email list. Gmail, there's not really a way to do that inside there. And I know you said MailChimp. There are other email providers out there that will allow you to do so many emails for free. I'll be honest, Sue, at how many emails are you sending right now? Or are you have like 500 email addresses on your list?
No, my highest was like 478, but I pruned over 100 in the last go round. I'm down to 3, maybe. It depends, 250 to 300. When I open it and look at it, occasionally I take people out. So, yeah.
All right. So I'm pulling this email up on screen right now. So I'm going to give, here's my impressions and suggestions, and then I'm going to open it up for others in the group as well. You might work in marketing or social media and have some thoughts on this. You might not work in marketing or social media, but you are a consumer who receives emails, and you can give Sue your feedback as well. Sue, do you have a website?
I do. It's just being updated. Hopefully it'll be out in a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
So first suggestion for you is your email address, suementors@gmail.com. As soon as you're able to do so, I would highly recommend that you get a branded email. So instead of suementors@gmail.com, sue@suegriffey.com, or whatever your domain is in that. That starts to create a little bit of the brand image for you, I guess, so to speak. And I remember when I was first starting my business out, my email was literally mellerbrenda@gmail.com. And I think actually it was before that, it was mellerbrenda@hotmail.com, because I didn't even have a Gmail yet. And I met with my friend Philip for lunch. We were at Panera. I remember this conversation, and he's like in graphic design, and we were talking about my business cards and stuff and what email was going to go. And he's like, they don't even make Hotmail anymore. He's like, you got to get like a Gmail at least on there. And I was kind of like, I wasn't like offended, but it was a blunt piece of feedback. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I never thought about it that way. And I'm like, but I've used Hotmail forever. That's what everyone always tells me. He's like, I don't care if you use this forever. It's not contemporary. It looks like you're dated. So he's like, at least get a Gmail. If not, eventually like get a website. If you've got mellermarketing.com, make a Brenda@mellermarketing.com, because then you look legitimate. You don't look like you're working out of your basement, and this is like a side hustle that you're trying to figure out whether or not it's going to work. The reality is, once you have a web domain, it doesn't cost that much to get an email box. I go through the Google Suite, and I think I pay like $18 per email box per year. Right now, I've got one set up for me, one for Julia, and then I think I have an info@mellermarketing.com email address. I link them to my Google Gmail, so I can use that interface to send out messages and calendar invites and things like that. But right off the bat, it just creates a little bit of that polish for your brand, if you will. Does that make sense, Sue?
Oh yeah, it does. And it's a good reminder of something I should have done and haven't, but yeah.
Okay.
No, it's
And
great.
then-
And I'll have to look at Google Suite, because Google owns my domain anyway. So.
Okay. And I've got a guy that I work with. His name's Larry Miller. He is an independent IT guy. His company is called Connected Geek. And when you're self-employed, you don't have an IT department you can work with, but Larry's like my go-to. I've had several instances. One was my wireless printer, the wireless wasn't working anymore. And I'm like trying to figure out, there has to be a cord I can plug into. And Larry, I was looking all over this. There's no USB cable or anything. Larry did an internet search. He found the original manual. This printer's 5 or 6 years old, maybe even older than that. He's like, open up the printer tray and remove this thing in the back. And there's a USB underneath that. Why would they put that inside the printer? It makes no sense. But Larry knew that. So when I was having some issues with GoDaddy and hosting and stuff like that, I ended up going to Larry, and he's like, GoDaddy is where you purchase it, but don't host it through there. I use, I'm not sure what's called, SiteGround, I think it's called, to host it. And then I purchased the Google Suite Gmail. I don't know. It's beyond my grasp, but I'm like, Larry tells me what to do and I know what to do because I trust him. Second thing I notice in here is you've got CC Ron Anderson. Is Ron somebody who's a member of your team, or was that a recipient?
And then everybody else is BCC'd.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. So then the subject line is mentor time, May through August schedule and topics, registration link, and opt out at the bottom. So here's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to go back to my inbox, and I'm just looking at what this says in here. Mentor time. So I'm kind of looking at what does the preview of the message look like inside of here. And I want to figure out, what's the best subject line to use for this email. Now I'm going to pull out one of my many tricks that I use, and there's a site that's called CoSchedule Headline Analyzer. Have you ever heard of that before?
Oh, I know there's a headline analyzer. I think it's that one that I've used.
I'm not sure if they've got an email title. Email subject line tester is another one that they have in here. So let me just pull this out, and I'm going to drop this link into chat right now. And then I'm going to pull this up on screen to do this. I'm going to grab your subject line as an example, mentor time, with all the stuff that you have in here. And then let me pull this over on the screen so you can see what I'm seeing on here. And I'm going to put the subject line in here and click on score my subject line. It's going to say, hey, you need to sign up for an account. It's free to do so. So let's see. Let me pull my email in there. It just had it and then it went away. Sorry. Meller Marketing. And do you guys notice that you always type slower when people are watching you?
And make more
that
mistakes.
panic, all right, so I have it in there, score my subject line. Okay, so here's the score they're giving me. They're saying both of these are a score of 48. And then they give you an overview. Words that decrease open rate. So using words like out and registration are hurting your score. They also say in here, may. The word may, for some reason, is a positive word. And it says use 2 words from the positive word bank to increase your opens. Character count, so just kind of pay attention. It's almost like it's training you on what you should do. Email subject lines around 20 characters perform best. So remove some characters to get it down. Word count, they're saying 3 to 5 words instead of 12. Emojis, they're saying use at least 1 in there. So I think that would be the first thing I would suggest for you, is changing up the subject line. And I know for you, this is very descriptive on what the email contains. But I want to think about, is there a more succinct way of saying this? Could you say register for upcoming job seeker events if they're all categorically related to that, or register for networking events? Or you could say learning and networking opportunities. So you're trying to tease in the subject line, what the events are about. Does that make sense too?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Then hi all. So when you use an email provider, like a MailChimp, or I use Kajabi, you're able to replace, a generic header with insert name field. So it can say, hi, Sue. So it looks like it's coming from you. And by the way, that's a really great technique for drafting emails, is to think about writing it for one person and almost read it out loud. Would you say this if I was talking to Sue, if I was sending her a one-to-one email type of thing? All right. So let's assume this is the very first time I've gotten an email from you. I have no idea what mentor time is. Do you anywhere in this email describe mentor time?
No, good point. And I haven't, because everybody originally opted in. And so when people people opt in now through another form that they get either from the course interactions or attending office hours or other ways they've contacted me.
Okay.
But
So you
should
may just
I
wanna-
be putting something in there?
You may want to put a reminder, because I even get people from these calls that will register, and they'll register and then they wouldn't have attended, and then months go by and they're still getting my emails, and then they're like, what is Friday VIP office hours? And I even sometimes will get questions. I have one person ask once, well, I don't work in a vice president or a leadership role, so can I still attend? And I said, oh yeah, VIP just means you're a very important person to me. That's all that means. It's not like a job title, like I'm going to kick you out if you're not at the C-suite or anything like that. And then, is it free to attend? Yes. Can I watch the playback? Yes. What's the purpose or the goal of the meeting? Well, it's for networking and general advice and, blah, blah, blah. So I think that might help. And that also might encourage people who have attended in the past or signed up to attend and never came out to actually come out to the meeting and help out with that, or increase that participation. Okay. So the next thing is, I think about, the almost like the 5 W's: who, what, where, when, why. And then the how is like, how do I register? So are all of these events, I can get to them if I register on the Google form?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to click on it right now to leave here, but it's all the same Zoom link that I get, or what happens next?
They'll register, and if they just want to register for when they register by time, they get the next topic. Otherwise, they'll get a recurring appointment, and they get the added to the calendar link, but they also will get the replay when I do it.
Okay. And I see that you've explained that as I was just saying that right now. And then you have, don't want to get weekly reminders, opt out, 3 questions. Okay. So again, if you were to move to a MailChimp or another email-based system, you can just use an unsubscribe link to do that for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, right now you're giving people, really, this is about one event series, and it's every Monday at 4 p.m. There's one link to join. I think other than just adding a bit more of a description and some of the other points, I think that would be the main thing I would suggest for you.
Okay.
I'm going to open up the floor to see if any others in the call here would like to suggest anything for Sue. Any feedback or observations, things that I haven't mentioned already, and feel free to unmute yourself if you'd like to share. Nancy, I saw you just come on camera here. Did you want to share something?
No, I thought you gave good advice. This is different than the emails I'm receiving though, Sue, from you. Unless this is an older one.
No, this is different. You're getting the course reminders for the things you and I had talked about originally. But that reminds me, Nancy, I have stopped making the first offer. When I talk to people, I used to send out my whole resources list. Here's videos on demand, here's mentor time, all of that. And maybe I've been looking at revamping how I describe those things. So yeah, it is totally different. You're right. And you're probably not on this list because we haven't yet interacted in a way that I would have asked you about it.
Right.
Okay.
But you're welcome. Just send me an email if you want to be on the list and just say mentor time in the subject line. That's all I need to know.
Sure.
I'm sending it out. But yeah, and it's true. Nancy's a good test because she and I started working together a few months ago over time on various things. And what it reminded me when you said, Brenda, I'm sure there are people who've forgotten what mentor time is. They see the topic, but this is probably the message I sent you is the one that has the most topics planned ahead because it was summertime. And we do cover a lot of different topics. So thanks. All of this was really, really helpful. Really helpful.
Happy to help you. All right. Does anyone else want to share any feedback with Sue before we move on? Dana, or I see somebody saying OC in the comments. No. Julia, anything from you? Julia's she's my marketing social media intern, but she's nearing the end of her degree program, and she's going to be starting to look for a job in the future. So Julia, is there anything that you noticed from looking at that email that you would suggest for Sue to change? I'm putting her on the spot.
Sorry,
Right
I
now.
was kind of multitasking. I was prepping emails and everything.
Yeah, no
Um,
problem. I know I'm putting
sorry.
you on the spot here. And that's something that, when you get your first job, people are expecting you're coming in with professional experiences and they're like, oh, well, Julia's the social media marketing guru. And Julia's like, I'm just an entry level, but they're going to expect that you're coming in and, and sometimes they'll ask you questions like, what do you think? What would you do differently with this email or with this particular project or things like that? So, at any rate, we'll keep this moving along here. And I want to just open up the floor. Is there anyone else on the call who has a question that they have regarding social media, regarding marketing? Nancy, I see that your hand is raised. How can we help you?
Yeah. So what I grapple with is currently I'm consulting and possibly wanting to also go back full time in-house.
Okay.
So it's two very different things. And I'm open to taking on more projects. So I want people on LinkedIn to know that.
Sure.
But at the same time, I also want people, and I know recruiters can see that because, in the private, which is not open to the public, you can put recruiters, that I'm open to opportunities. I don't have the open to work because I don't personally care for that. But my point is, I struggle with the wanting people to understand that, yes, I'm open to taking on new assignments and welcome them. But in the same breath, I would entertain the right opportunity.
Okay.
So that's where I struggle. And I know you and I are having a separate call. I have to.
You gotta.
I've got two kids. One kid's starting graduate school in Chicago, so I have to move him. The other kid is going to be a senior in high school, and I'm like all worried about him. So I've got all these other extraneous, external things going on. And
Did you
I
get one of the
things,
coaching calls with me? Is that what you were referencing?
Yes, I booked the one-on-one, but it's so top of mind for me what I just said to you, because things have changed. Last year was a banner consulting year. Things have changed. The summer was ridiculously slow business wise. So, trying to, and also Brenda, because of you, I joined Bobby Carlton's calls, which I love, as you know.
And let me just give a quick shout out. If the rest of you on the call aren't aware of this, Bobby Carlton created a group called Innovation Women, which is really an organization supporting women who are speakers or who are aspiring to be speakers. And every Friday morning, she does a free Speaker Friends Friday call. It's a little bit of a tongue twister. It starts at 8:45 and it goes until 10. I always drop off at 9:45 to get ready for these calls. But in the first 15 minutes, it's like everybody introduces themselves. And then for the next 45 minutes, we do Q&A. And then the last 15 minutes, they do breakout sessions. And I found, some really great connections on the call. Some have become clients, some I've become their clients. And other times it's just like, as a speaker, you learn from other people. One week I asked about a ring light. Like, what do you guys buy for ring lights? Another person asked about speaker microphones. Sometimes we talk about how to do speaker submissions, but if you're interested in joining, I have like an affiliate link that you can use, and I'll ask Julia if she could drop that inside chat. You don't have to join to come on the Speaker Friends Friday calls, but it's certainly, it's not an expensive membership. I think it's like 100 and something a year. So
Right.
It's very
130, I think.
Yeah, it's a good price.
Yeah.
So going back to your point of, I think we could probably cover this a little bit more in your one-on-one call, but I would say at a high level, if you are a consultant right now, but you would be open to a full-time opportunity, it just depends on how visible you want to be with that on your LinkedIn profile. I have seen some people weave it into their about statement or into their, like for me, under Meller marketing, you could weave in a statement, for your own company saying, I'm currently doing this work, freelance, part-time, retainer-based work. But you could also weave in to say, I'm always open to conversations to discussing a full-time position working for an employer where my expertise may benefit you. So it kind of cracks the door open to say, I'm open to that conversation. but then also to your current clients and potential clients who might be reading your profile, it still looks like your full-time gig, your consulting job is what you're really doing. So, and in those cases, if you are thinking about looking for a full-time job and you start interviewing and it looks like the path is going towards full-time, pretty early on in the conversation, even before that, you want to figure out, what do you want to do? Do you want to stop doing the part-time business and not do that work anymore? If so, then you'll need to notify your clients, staying within the contract clauses, 30-day, 90-day, whatever cancellations you have. Or if you want to keep the side work going, just make sure that your employer knows that you're doing it, but just tell them, I have a couple clients, I'm winding it down. I'm not taking on anybody new, but I want to keep them on for a little bit, but it'll be evening and weekend work. I'll never do it on company hours. So just making sure they're aware of it, so that there aren't any potential hiccups that come up where they say, what do you mean you have your own business? We didn't know about, or we thought you were ending your business. Does that help you, Nancy?
Yeah. I like what you said about the about section. I think that is a good place to address it. And obviously some people have figured it out. I've also received, messages about opportunities, or people will say, oh, it looks like you're consulting. Would you entertain another opportunity, a full-time opportunity? But it is something that I've thought about a lot. And I've also asked this question before about, I just recently started adding some of the clients just because I got on my LinkedIn. I got tired of having that generic without a company page. I have a logo for myself now, but I didn't like having the generic freelancer logo. So, yeah.
We've in and out. I mean, I've had friends that have left corporate and worked for themselves for 15 years, and then they go back to working at corporate again. And, it's wherever you are at this season in your life and with your business and with your needs. I mean, some people get tired of chasing after stuff all the time. Other people get kind of tired of the corporate grind, and they're like, there's got to be a better way. And they come to this side. So I don't think there's any one right or wrong career path. And in whatever you're doing doesn't need to be the thing that you're doing for the rest of your career either. I think, you got to listen to yourself and figure out, where am I happiest and where do I think I can make the most value and get the most value as well.
Yeah.
So, hopefully that helps you. And maybe there's others that might be listening as well. This might help them too.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. You're welcome. Okay. I'm going to open up the floor for any other questions from folks on the call. If you do have a question, you can either unmute yourself, or if you prefer to remain anonymous and you are on the Zoom call with us, you can just go into chat and type in your question or comment there. And I would be happy just to answer it anonymously without saying your name, because I know there's a couple people that don't have their names in there. While I'm waiting for those to come in, I just want to talk about something I have experienced personally on LinkedIn over the past few weeks. If you've been following me, you'll know what I'm talking about. I've been thrown into LinkedIn jail, which, if you know me, I'm always about playing by the rules on LinkedIn, and I train people on the right way of doing LinkedIn techniques and strategies. And this is the second time in my nearly probably 15, 16 years of using LinkedIn, I've been in LinkedIn jail. The first time it happened was probably, it hasn't been 10 years ago. And I had sent out too many invitations. And at the time they had a threshold of how many you could have total pending. And then once you hit that and people weren't accepting, then they kind of put your account on hold and you got a message. And I was thrown into LinkedIn jail, and I put a blog together about it. And at the time, it wasn't really LinkedIn jail. I couldn't send out any invitations, but I was restricted on my LinkedIn activity. So that's why I'm referring it to as LinkedIn jail. And I blogged about it and talked to people about it. And I figured out what I needed to do was omit a bunch of the pending invitations. And then for a period of time, I had to enter email addresses when I was sending out invitations. I couldn't just invite them. I had to enter the person's email address. Eventually it was lifted, and then I was out of jail, and I was on probation probably for a while. And then I was free and clear. I was like the rest of society, and I wasn't treated like an ex-con or anything like that from LinkedIn. Now, recently, over the past 2 weeks, this started happening. It was probably about 2 weeks ago. I was on, it was an Innovation Women phone calls 2 weeks ago on a Friday. And in the chat, people were introducing themselves and they were putting their LinkedIn URL. So I was clicking on the links, and the chat was probably 60 or 80 people on the call. So I was clicking on the links and opening them in a new window. And I typically will only open 5 LinkedIn tabs at a time, because I know if you open more than that, it triggers something on there. You'll get like warning messages. So I always try to keep like no more than 5, but in this particular phone call, I think I had 10 of them open. After that particular call, I had something on a personal basis that took me away from my computer, and I walked away for several hours with 10 tabs open. Shock, right? Who cares if you have 10 tabs open? LinkedIn cares, apparently, because I came back and I got this ominous message saying, hey, we're detecting suspicious activity and therefore your account has been restricted. And I closed out of it and refreshed my page, and I knew exactly what it was. It was the tabs that were all open. So I closed off all the tabs, logged out of LinkedIn, logged back in, and I got back in. But I was like, okay, I was temporarily in LinkedIn jail. The next day I was walking my dog, Pepper, by the way. And as is common when I'm walking my dog, I'm doing social media. I'm pulling up LinkedIn. I'm doing this stuff because I've got one of these waist leashes it allows me to be hands-free, and she does pretty good on walks. So I can do multitasking. And I had opened up my LinkedIn app, was starting to log in, and then it flickered for a second. And then I get an error message. We're detecting unusual activity from your account. And it basically, in so many words, said you're going to be in LinkedIn jail for 12 hours. And I was like, what? I'm just logging in from the app. That was weird. So I shut down the app, got back into my laptop again, and I could get into LinkedIn. Okay. A couple more hours went by and it happened again. And at this point, I don't know what I had done that had triggered it, but I then had to fill out a form. And then a couple days went by and I was like walking on eggshells. Like, I don't want to do this again. And I got an email back from a woman at LinkedIn, only first name, not a last name. So you can't figure out who they really are. And it was from the customer support box. So I couldn't even email her directly. And she outlined a list of questions. Are you using automation? Automation tools are a violation of LinkedIn terms of service, blah, blah. If you are using automation, do you agree not to? What was happening at the time that you got your account restricted? And then there was one other question. I can't remember what it was, but I said, no, I'm not using automation. In fact, I train people not to use automation because I play by the rules on LinkedIn. Since I wasn't using automation, I agree not to use automation anymore. The third question, what was happening? I opened up multiple tabs. I think I had 10 opened at the time. And I explained that to her. And then the fourth question, I can't remember what it was. She replied back to me and in an ominous tone said, you can't have multiple tabs open. We make this rule to protect our members. And it was weird. And I said, okay, I can't have multiple tabs, but she didn't say what the number of tabs that you can have on it. So yesterday I did a LinkedIn Live-a-thon event. Halfway through, I got thrown into LinkedIn jail. I had a live stream open because people were complaining that they weren't seeing the comments. The sound wasn't working. There was other issues. So I had the live stream open. I opened it up in my activity feed so I could see all the comments, and I kept refreshing. And I had the live stream open in another tab with the video. I think that triggered it. And I kept refreshing to see the comments. I think that triggered it. I got locked down in the middle of my live, which was crazy. So today, the email that I had from this woman at LinkedIn, I replied back to her and I explained what happened yesterday. And I'm now on my knees begging and pleading, help me out, please. I'm a good LinkedIn member. I play by the rules. I don't know what I've done to offend the people there. But please tell me what I can do to get my flag lifted off of my account, because I'm a good person and I want to help you. And I've sent you business. I've told people to upgrade to premium when it makes sense, to pay money for advertising solutions, to pay for recruiters, to pay for ads. I'm like, I'm here to support you, but help me, help you. I did my little Jerry Maguire in the middle of it. I'm waiting to hear back from her. I don't anticipate I'll hear back anytime soon because it'll probably be escalated, but fingers crossed, when this whole thing is resolved and done, I will be doing a podcast and a blog about it. So I'm going to use my lemons to make a beautiful lemon pie, and then I will serve it out to my community. Is what I'll be doing. So there we have it. Okay, I do see something came in from Sue, who said, thinking back to headline analyzer and the emoji recommendation, should I use pictures or GIFs in my emails? What do you think? Yes, I love using GIFs in emails. I use a site called, I think it's giphy.com, Giphy. Is it giphy.com? I'm going to drop it into the chat right now. I'm a huge fan of the TV show Schitt's Creek. So I use Schitt's Creek memes and things like that a lot. Or you can just type in a word or a phrase and you can find things in there. I like to use cultural references that will align with your target audience. So making sure that you're keeping in mind their age, their gender, ethnicity, things like that, that you are representing them in the GIFs, or things that are on trend with things that would align with their lifestyle, their cultural, their values, and things like that. Yeah, absolutely. I love using GIFs in there. I also use pictures of myself. And sometimes I'll do a fun photo shoot with my local headshot photographer, Scott Lawrence, and I will use those periodically in my emails as well. I think it helps to humanize you when you're using yourself in there. So does that help you, Sue? Okay, I see a thumbs up in there. All right, wonderful. Okay, with that said, I'm going to start to wind us down here. And I want to remind all of you that these calls are something that we are doing every Friday. If you go to mellermarketing.com/Friday VIP, you'll see that I have a couple different topics that we are focusing on for these calls. I'm going to share this on screen here as I'm describing it. So if you go to mellermarketing.com/Friday VIP, the webpage is called Friday VIP Office Hours with Brenda Meller. And you'll see that our focus by week includes, and there's 4 different topics for each of the 4 weeks. Sometimes there's 5 weeks in a month, but we're going to just say there's 4. The first Friday is VIP Office Hours for job seekers. So we'll focus on job search strategies for individuals who are in career transition or working but looking. Part of the reason I'm explaining this to you right now is you might come across somebody who is in career transition or working but looking for a job. Tell them to come and check this webpage out. The second Friday will be VIP Office Hours for coaches, consultants, speakers, and authors. The third is focused on LinkedIn company pages. And the fourth Friday, which is today, is for individuals who are social media managers and marketers. And the webpage kind of describes, remember I was talking earlier about the who, what, where, when, why, that kind of stuff. I spell it all out for you. These are free every week. And then I'm trying to figure out a better way of doing this right now, but I basically have underneath the top section of the webpage, there'll be a section heading for each of these. So first Friday, it explains what to do. There's a respond RSVP link for the job seeker one. If you continue to scroll down, you'll see the playback on YouTube. And then if underneath that, you'll see the second Friday. So same category. There's a link to RSVP and sign up for those. The playbacks, there'll be a playlist inside there. The third Friday, the company pages, same information, different links. So it's a different RSVP link for each of these series. And then the company page office hours, we haven't gotten the YouTube up there yet. That was just last week. And then today is the fourth Friday. So I'm trying to figure out an easier way that you can see these in one spot. But the challenge is I'm doing 4 different topics. So trying to figure out how to consolidate this and make it a little bit more clear. But right now you'll just have to scroll down to the different section and then you can see those. But feel free, if you know of others that might be interested in these calls, they can come on out. We will be sending you an email with a link to watch the playback on YouTube, as well as the link to register for future calls. And I'll do the reminder about the other topics that are in the series. And you can feel free to forward that email along to others as well. So thank you all so much for coming, for attending today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I look forward to seeing all of you on LinkedIn. My name is Brenda Meller. I help business professionals, solopreneurs, and job seekers get a bigger slice of the LinkedIn pie. I hope I've helped you today, and I look forward to seeing you in future weeks. Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Brenda.